Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Comics della Morte, episode 17. And they call me a monster. Today is just going to be me. Jason's with his family, spending some time together. And I just want to say thank you all for, for our absence last week. He was busy and I was going through a lot of my, health issues, and sometimes we both have to take breaks for things, but we really appreciate for everyone who comes by and watches the show and shows us such respect, and I appreciate it all. So let's get into this week's episode with Frankenstein Alive issue 3. It was a really good episode, and I'm just going to start off by showing some of the pages here. Let's see. So right here we have our first page, which basically Frankenstein, he's, have like almost like zombies almost attacking him. And I'm just going to read the dialogue. The stage is dark, and all about me I hear the rustling and moans and soft trumpeting sounds of dreadful unearthlings. I've seen this melodrama before. I know everything twist and turn out of its plot. Its movement is as familiar as the tides of the sea. I know how it always begins. It is the drama of my judgment, and the final is always the same. I should by now be injured to the agony of the outcome, to invulnerable fact of my guilt. Still, I am afraid. The lights come up. Enter Victor, my judge. His plans that part well. Monster, wretched fiend, you stand here accused of the supreme and the capital crime of murder. How do you plea? I am guilty. My victims stand before me. So I'm going to stop it there. And I just want to say that this page is like very detailed and amazing. And I just love like how they always use like the grays and blacks, but they always want to like put in that little subtle a blueness to give it that eerie effect. And here we could just see, Frankenstein's monster literally having a nightmare, and all the victims that he killed are basically zombified at this point and almost going to tear him apart. So he's afraid of these things, which, Frankenstein, he was born and he didn't know what he was. And you had all these people that were trying to attack him. So to him, they are the monster, while in reality, he just wants to live. So, I just love like the stone effect here, just give like the very detail, like the artist, he could have just simply just, drawn a bunch of stone hedges, and tombs, and just not add like any detail, but he wanted to go detail on the cross here by Victor and have like a death one that's close to Frankenstein, indicating that he's having a dream that's going to be close, like almost indicating that he's going to die in this dream. But in reality, he knows that he has gone through so much death through the earlier books, with freezing in the eyes and being buried under the hot molten mud lava from the volcano. So he knows in the end, no matter what's going to happen to him, he's always going to live. So with the next pages, we just get a more close-up of Victor talking to Frankenstein. And here we literally see how Frankenstein's crying, because Victor's just like, your sentence is death. No something even worse than death, oblivion. Back to this separate and disparate pieces from which you were assembled, back to the nothingness from whence you came. Full and final deception and destruction. I deserve no better. And you literally see Frankenstein cry, the Frankenstein monster crying here because, for so long he's lived a horrible life, and he just figures that death is the only way to truly make him happy. So very sad, and very you make this comic makes you feel for the monster, while a lot of horror comics you feel more for the person that's being chased by the monster, or the one who's trying to get revenge on the monster. So we're going to go on to the next panels. And this is now back to the present time, to where Frankenstein was with the doctor that basically found him in the mummified hot molten lava, and basically showed him the library and all this stuff. Just really great 2 panels. Sometimes as a comic book artist, you don't always need to have like 6, 9 panels. You could simply just do like a giant panel here, and then a panel within a panel, and just showing the great detail of the muscle, of the wrinkling of the clothes and the muscle tone. And then, man, these books, like, you see the detail in how like they actually drew some of these books. Like, it's not just a bunch of books with squiggly lines. No, he took the time to make it very detailed. And Bernie Wrightson, I wish he was alive, because I would love to just pick his brain and wonder why he decided to go full detail instead of just the simple route. But great job. Rest in peace, Bernie. Can't wait to review more of your work down the road. So now we have this giant panel scene. Let me just go to full screen. And here, I just love, the whole rain. For some artists, or for some people, it's like, oh, it's just a rain scene. But me, I always love in comics when you try to add a rain effect or a snow effect, because it gives it like almost that world building effect that, okay, in this world, it's not always sunny. There's harsh weather. There's weather that could infect farmers' lives and people's lives just in general. So here we literally see Frank, the monster, literally watching the man that he's been living with, and people are literally down below asking about his wife, and he's like, "My dearest apologies, Mrs. Finch, but my wife has taken seriously ill." So we know from the last one that the the scientist's wife literally saw the monster and passed out and carried her body, and he hadn't seen the scientist's wife ever since. So he's wondering what happened to his wife. Is his wife still in a coma state? Is she dead? Or did she run off in hiding? We don't know at this point. So it's just really great scene. I love the detail as always. And just even look at the Stonehenge work and even the roof. Like, he could have just, again, gone with the simple route, but he wanted to show like that wood, like rooftop detail with like the detail of the wood lines. Just really great stuff. And even with the horses, like, there's so many people who draw horses, that doesn't just look right, but from a distance, he really captured that. And I just love this whole panel shot here. And now we go further into now where he's in the study and he's watching the doctor with a young woman. So at this point, he doesn't know what's going on. And I'm just going to read the dialogue here. I had scarcely melted into the shadow. I had what is that? I had scarcely melted into the shadows when I heard a shriek. Doctor Egres was there too. I saw him again, doctor, dripping wet, tall in the face of a skull, and death itself walking through the house. So right here, we literally see like this woman who's like freaking out because she sees the monster, and the doctor's just like, my dear, please, you must calm yourself. There's nothing there. So, we don't know what her purpose is until we get later on into the story. And the doctor's just trying to calm her down to realize, hey, there's a lot of scary stuff. We have like a mastodon skeleton. We have like all these stuffed birds, the two-headed lizard right here. So, the doctor's just playing along that, hey, there's nothing alive here. And it's just, a bunch of dead stuff. So, really great shot. Again, amazing detail with all the skulls and everything. And just, so far, I really love the story. And with the chapter 1 and chapter 2, and even with chapter 3, I'm going to have to give it a 10 out of 10 just for the artwork and how the story flows so great. Guys, if you want to read this, I recommend going on Comixology or even just trying to find the book and just buy it and read it for yourselves, because it is really great stuff. So now we have a close-up, and I'm just going to read some of the dialogue here. She seemed a very curious girl, examining with great interest the many strange and exotic objects in the house. I'm sure your imagination just became overexcited. And no, doctor, I saw him. That monster. Enough for the sake of your baby. You must remain quiet. So literally now the Frankenstein monster is seeing the doctor literally putting like a towel over the woman's face, and she passed out. So it's like, what the hell is going on? That this doctor, instead of taking her to the next room, he just basically smothered her and made her pass out. It's like, how's that going to be safe for the baby that you could have just literally killed this woman? And he had to use like some type of something to make her pass out. So because as an old man like that, even if she is pregnant, she would still have more strength than him to fight against him. So he probably used something to like really knock her out there. So, really crazy stuff. And now we got this long panel shot. A lot of great long panel shots. Not a very like broken up 6 chapters or anything. Great stuff. And now we get into where the Frankenmonster is literally following the doctor to see where he's taking this woman. And here is another beautiful shot where you see like the stone hedge, the stonework in the walls, and this staircase with all the mummified skeletons. You don't need color to add depth and almost like a 3D perspective if you know what you're doing as an artist. And Bernie, he just does really great work. And anyone who is a comic book artist, I recommend just looking over his work. With just find any type of Bernie Wrightson's book that you could find and just really study his work and see how great his detail is, because it's just top notch. And now we go into this awesome scene where literally he walks into the area where the doctor basically tells him not to go. And I'm going to read the dialogue here. Let me make the screen big. I found Dolly, not in her bedroom, but in the doctor's laboratory. It was with a rising sense of deepest dread that I approached her still and uh, reposable, posable form. I only had to look to know that she was dead. So here, you know, Bernie, he really wanted to like have your center of attention going towards the body of the doctor's dead wife to indicate that focal point. But yet again, you have all this glass tube work with the shine on it to really show that detail of like polished work. Like there's a light that's happening within this room. And here, the Frankenstein monster has never pretty much been in this room to see what's all going on. And there's just so many like tubes with liquid. Like you would wonder, why is this woman sleeping in here? And it's alarming because even if you aren't Frankenstein's monster, if you see this whole crazy laboratory room and a body just laying there with like, it seems like there's no life, it'd be like, what's going on? And you'd be on alert. So now here we have a better detail of you literally sense that, all the time with the flashbacks and his mind where the doctor's calling him a monster, but yet in this moment we see how the monster isn't a monster, but someone who is made into something that people look at as something scary, but yet we see how beautiful and passionate his heart is. And I'm just going to read some of the dialogue here. A wave of remorse and self-loathing washed over me. Forgive me. This was my fault. I knew it had to be. And the very sight of me had killed this woman and had shocked her into reversible decline. I wanted to pray, but I did not know how or to whom. I let my guilt and my shame and remorse engulf me. I could do nothing but weep bitterly. And now we have another, awesome shot here where literally the bed has so much detail in it with like the wrinkling of the sheets. Like you could have easily done, simple line work, but Bernie, he really added like the detail in the sheets, and just great job. And with more of the glass work, just having the blue light and the lighting here, if you're going to do a black and white comic or comics in general, you need to focus on where your lighting's going to come from so you could get that at full effect. Or sometimes it's going to look weird and look unrealistic in ways, even though anatomy and all that stuff doesn't really have to be perfect to a T. And now we get her terrified face where literally we see that she isn't sleeping, but her eyes are rolled backwards. And I'm just going to read the dialogue here. Then her eyes opened, but the sense of death did not leave me. Quite an interesting relief, not. But doctor, she was dead. Dead, no, but not quite. Alive either. She balances a thin line somewhere between those two great mysteries. So pretty much she's like almost in a coma state. And the doctor, like he told Frank before, that, you know, she has a sickness and he's trying to find something to prolong her life with. And we talked about before how it was literally, he was using unborn baby fetuses. And, you know, that's weird at first. So you're like, okay, where does he get the fetuses from? Are they donated? Are they, you know, pretty much given to him by scientists effects? And no, they are not. Literally now we see how the doctor is literally prolonging his wife's life. And I'm just going to read the dialogue. The puzzle is infamous and complex. All the pieces needed to solve them are at hand. Life and death are separated by the finest lines. My dear Dolly is now balanced on that line. My elixir is the wine of youth, of fertility, and revolution of life itself. These poor babies, stillborn, premature, and the fruit from which the wine is pressed, but still it is not enough to make the finest wine. The fruit must be fresh, and these poor little grapes are not. The freshest fruit must be plucked when it is at the ripest, and this time it shall be. It is growing now, even as we speak. So we literally see this panel where the doctor is showing in tubes of these undead babies, stillborns, prematures, and he's literally talking about like taking a newborn child and sacrificing it to keep his wife alive. So we know now, so we know now that literally that this doctor has kept this woman in his house to pretty much take her baby, probably by force, by like killing her, cutting the baby open, and use its life force to keep his wife alive. So this is why I name it And You Call Me the Monster, because it's like, you know, the Frankenstein monster was born and people looked at him as a monster, but yet we get to see in this book how he's not a monster at all, but he's a good man, but everybody else around him is the real monster. Because, you know, how could you do that? You know, you're willing to sustain someone's life by taking another life that just was born in the world and doesn't have a chance to live. You know, that is horrible and beyond sick. So, you know, at this point, Frankenstein in the panel is just talking to himself, and he's like, the warmth I once felt in the doctor's presence now faded to cold dread, and his meaning was plain. He meant to take the girl's baby at the moment of its birth and use it in his pearls to revive Dolly. My first instinct was to kill Dr. Eagles, which, you know, that is a regular human form. And I hope that the farther we read in the books, that Frankenstein realizes that he looks like a monster on the outside, but he's a true human on the inside. Because anyone who has a heart, who sees that, you know, this man, this scientist is willing to hurt a child, the first instinct is to like stop that person, to protect that child at no cost. So, you know, he has no, he shouldn't feel bad about that. And it's just really great to see that throughout the story, how like with the universal monster, Frankenstein, always see him as a monster, and we get the perspective of these town people saying, oh, he, you know, he's a monster, he needs to be killed. But yet with Bernie Wrightson and them, they literally gave this monster life and a personality, and his heart is pure, and he doesn't want no harm to come towards people. And the people that he killed was probably people that were trying to kill him. So he did it in self-defense. So now here, and I apologize if this is a short episode. It was a very short issue, but just me not just talking about it. Go check it out. It's really great. And I'm just gonna make this screen larger. And now here we literally see another great scene with, Frankenstein in the woods, the monster trying to collect his thoughts. And we just see all this beautiful, like, tree detail. And literally he's just like trying to get away because he knows that if he stays there longer, he's going to do something that he might regret. And he doesn't know how to react, because this man basically took him in and looked at him as a human being, while yet he knows that what the doctor's doing is inhumane and just horrible. So I'm just going to read the last bit of this page. My hands, as if of their own revulsion, were ready, already reaching for his throat. Instead, I ran from the house into the woods, trying to seem to outrun my own emotions. Why would I want to kill a man who never did me any harm, a man who had sheltered me and fed me, even helped me to teach me all this time, a man who did not think of me as a monster, in fact, a man who thought of me as a friend. Maybe I was the instrument of death, as Victor accused. Maybe murder is the very fiber of my being. I did not know this woman. Why would I care about her fate? She saw me as a monster. She screamed at the very sight of me. Why? Why did my mind put me in so many different directions? Why did the fate and actions of others plague me? I thought of the volumes I read, so many tales of human torment and death, but also of selflessness and bravery. Has this wrought in my mind and reflection of the monster I was, or am I the human I was to become? And that thought terrified me more than any other. Was I becoming one of them unless the monster Victor had made? I was overwhelmed by thought, frozen in place, unsure I should return and to Niles and to face him, or run into the night and lose myself once again in cold, lonely darkness. So I'm going to end it there. I really thank everyone who's going to be watching this on the rerun. And like I said, the link to the description of this book is in the description. The link to the chapter 3 is in the description. And just check it out yourself. If you're coming into here for the first time, go check out our the first video of this chapter of Frankenstein Alive, and just read it through, because you're not going to be disappointed. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week on Comics de la Muerte, episode 18. Bye.